When we talk about diet and body composition, fat loss, muscle gain, metabolic health, we tend to focus on calories, macros, and training, and that makes sense. But in recent years, science has started to point towards something deeper, something a bit more hidden, something living inside us, the microbiome. More specifically, probiotics. Those tiny live microorganisms that colonize our gut and quietly orchestrate everything from digestion to immune function, and yes, even fat metabolism and muscle synthesis. Now, this might sound like a fringe idea, but the data backing this up is growing. And it's not just about having a healthy gut. We're talking about concrete effects on visceral fat, triglyceride levels, insulin sensitivity, and even recovery from workouts. So today, we're going to explore how specific probiotic strains can help reduce body fat and support lean muscle development, and, more importantly, how to choose and use them correctly. Let's begin with fat. One of the most impressive mechanisms by which probiotics help regulate body fat is by targeting the development and accumulation of adipose tissue itself. Certain probiotic strains don't just float around passively. They actually interfere with the biological machinery that creates new fat cells. For example, the strain Lactobacillus plantarum KY1032 directly inhibits the differentiation of pre-adipocytes into mature fat cells. In laboratory models using 3T3L1 adipocytes, a gold standard for studying fat cell biology, this strain suppresses key gene expression both at the mRNA and protein levels. The result? Fewer fat cells and smaller fat cells. And because these fat cells are largely located in the visceral and subcutaneous layers, precisely where we don't want them, this inhibition translates to real metabolic benefits. Another strain worth mentioning is Lactobacillus curvatus HY7601. This one works through a different but equally fascinating pathway. It helps upregulate LDL receptors on the surface of cells, especially in the liver. What does that mean? It means more LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, is pulled out of the bloodstream and transported into cells for processing or elimination. This leads to reduced blood triglyceride levels, improved liver function, and a lower risk of fat buildup in the liver and bloodstream. In animal models, this strain has been shown to reduce plasma glucose, insulin, and triglycerides, while also lowering liver weight, signs that it's shifting the entire metabolic environment toward one that's less prone to obesity. But probiotics aren't just about suppressing fat formation. They also influence appetite, thermogenesis, and energy expenditure. Certain strains stimulate the release of hormones like GLP-1 and PYY, both of which signal satiety to the brain. GLP-1, in particular, is famous for its role in diabetes medications, like semaglutide and liraglutide. While probiotics don't work as powerfully as drugs, they do nudge the same system, helping to reduce cravings and portion sizes in a more natural, sustained way. Thermogenesis is another area of interest. Some probiotic strains increase activity in the sympathetic nervous system, which ramps up brown fat activity and heat production. This process subtly elevates your basal metabolic rate, the number of calories you burn at rest. While it's not going to melt pounds overnight, every percentage counts, especially when combined with diet and exercise. Now let's talk insulin sensitivity. Low-grade chronic inflammation in the gut is one of the sneaky culprits behind metabolic syndrome. An imbalanced microbiome produces more lipopolysaccharides, pro-inflammatory molecules that leak through the gut lining into the bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammation and insulin resistance. But when you populate the gut with beneficial strains, like certain Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium species, they restore microbial balance, tighten the gut barrier, and reduce inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and IL-6. That leads to improved insulin signaling, better glucose uptake by muscles, and enhanced fat oxidation. In other words, your body becomes more efficient at burning fat instead of storing it. And speaking of muscles, because fat loss without muscle retention is just a crash diet, we now have evidence that probiotics also contribute to lean body mass by supporting protein digestion, nutrient absorption, and muscle recovery. The gut is where all nutrient absorption begins, and when your gut is inflamed or populated with the wrong bacteria, the efficiency of protein digestion and amino acid absorption drops. This matters because muscle protein synthesis depends on the availability of essential amino acids, especially leucine, after meals. A healthy gut flora improves the permeability and surface area of the intestinal lining, allowing more amino acids to pass through to the bloodstream. This effect has been observed particularly with Bifidobacterium lactis strains, which are known to improve gut integrity and nutrient uptake. Probiotics can also enhance recovery from workouts by reducing muscle damage markers like creatine kinase, CK, and lactate dehydrogenase, LDH, both of which spike after intense training. By lowering inflammation and oxidative stress, these strains help speed up recovery and reduce delayed onset muscle soreness. The anti-inflammatory properties are especially pronounced in Bifidobacterium species, which blunt the rise in IL-6 and TNF-alpha after strenuous exercise. There's also emerging evidence linking gut health to the endocrine system. The so-called gut-brain axis isn't just about mood. It also plays a role in hormonal balance, including the production of testosterone and growth hormone. Lactobacillus reuteri, for instance, has been shown in some rodent studies to boost serum testosterone levels. While human data is limited, the idea is compelling. Modulating the gut microbiome might offer an indirect but meaningful way to support anabolic hormone profiles. So, with all this in mind, fat reduction, appetite control, enhanced nutrient absorption, hormonal support, how should we choose the right probiotic? First, you need to know your strains. Generic probiotics won't do. You want ones that have been studied specifically for fat loss and metabolic health. The top contenders: Lactobacillus plantarum, KY1.32, for adipocyte differentiation suppression; Lactobacillus curvatus, HY7601, for cholesterol metabolism; and Bifidobacterium lactis B420, which has shown abdominal fat reduction in clinical trials. Second, make sure the probiotics can actually survive the journey to your intestines. The stomach is an acidic war zone. Without proper protection, most bacteria never make it. That's where enteric-coated capsules come in. These use pH-sensitive coatings that resist stomach acid but dissolve in the intestines. Look for products with documented colony-forming units, CFUs, in the billions. 10 to 100 billion per day is a good range for therapeutic effects. Third, consider pairing your probiotic with prebiotics, non-digestible fibers that act as food for the good bacteria. Inulin and fructooligosaccharides, FOS, are excellent choices. They help the probiotics flourish and maintain a healthy gut balance over time. Timing also matters. The best window for probiotic consumption is within 30 minutes after a meal. Why? Because food buffers stomach acid, increasing the likelihood that the bacteria survive. Taking them on an empty stomach, by contrast, exposes them to full-strength gastric acid and drastically reduces their viability. And remember, probiotics don't colonize the gut permanently. Their benefits fade quickly if you stop taking them. This means daily, consistent supplementation is essential. Most experts recommend sticking with a regimen for at least 2 to 4 weeks to see measurable changes in gut flora and metabolic markers. You can further amplify the effect of probiotics by creating a gut-friendly environment. That means eating plenty of cruciferous vegetables, like broccoli and cabbage, healthy fats from salmon and olive oil, polyphenols from berries and green tea, and fermentable fiber from foods like bananas, garlic, and oats. These all support the growth of beneficial bacteria while suppressing harmful strains. Of course, probiotics aren't magic pills. You still need to manage calories, move your body, and get enough sleep. But when layered on top of a good routine, they can shift your internal environment in powerful ways. They help you metabolize fat more efficiently, control hunger with greater ease, and recover from workouts faster, all by managing what scientists are now calling the second brain, your gut. So if you're in the midst of a fat loss journey, or working to build muscle while staying lean, probiotics deserve a spot in your supplement lineup. The science is no longer speculative. It's evolving, targeted, and increasingly practical. And in a world that often chases extremes, sometimes the smartest strategy is to optimize the invisible systems that run beneath the surface. And maybe that's the most important shift of all, moving from a war on fat to a conversation with your biology, not by force, but by partnership. Not just by cutting, burning, or pushing, but by cultivating the microscopic allies already inside you. After all, when your gut is on your side, your whole body works better. And that, in the long run, is what sustainable transformation really looks like.